Stephanie Lee and her mother Pat, they're here today, and Stephanie's going to be our speaker. I first became aware of Stephanie when I was a faculty member at Baylor in about 2011, 2012, and Stephanie was a student at Baylor. And there was this article on the front page of one of these Baylor magazines, Baylor Forum, I don't know what, and it was Stephanie on the front of that cover of that magazine. And there's a story, blind from birth, Stephanie Lee is in the Baylor Golden Wave Marching Band. Wow. I said, and I read the article. I sure did read the article, and it made quite an impression. And later on, Stephanie at one point was a manager for KYAR radio station, and I heard her name then. So I think I know who that is. And so we had a very good relationship at the radio station, and Stephanie would do the advertising for us, and so we still get to see each other every once in a while. And I just got to thinking about speakers. And I said, gosh, I'm going to ask Stephanie to tell us about her life. And for pro-life, you hear these things of, when people are not right at the norm on every particular way, is our life worth living? And of course, life is worth living. And that when we have certain differences, that's what gives us a challenge in life. How are we going to deal with that? So, I know a little bit about this story, and I say it's Stephanie's story. It's Pat's story as well, as a devoted mother. And so after graduation, Stephanie went to Texas A&M University and then found her way back or toward the promised land of Baylor University, and earned a degree from Baylor, and has done well in her career and in her life. And so I'm going to get out of the way and give you Stephanie Lee.
It is a blessing and an honor to be here with all of you today. As I contemplated how I would approach this talk, I began thinking about values because they are an integral, indescribable, and an invaluable part of our lives. The Webster's Dictionary states that values are defined as broad references concerning appropriate courses of action or outcomes. As such, values reflect and help to determine a person's sense of right and wrong or what ought to be. They also help us to influence one's attitudes or behaviors. When examining the various types of values, there are ethical, ideological, religious, moral, material, cultural, and personal. Each is its own unique capacity, and as individuals, we have numerous values instilled in us as children. Values have significantly influenced my life and shaped the person that I have become today. My story is one that is ongoing, containing many chapters. However, growing up, my mother molded me into the adult standing before you today, and that was not an easy task. I hope to pass my values that were instilled in me and that she taught me along to my children someday, if I'm lucky enough to have children, and to my goddaughter. When I was barely 1 month old, my mother began taking me to church every Saturday or Sunday. In other words, every chance she got. She held me in her arms as we were at Mass as a family. If I was sleeping, it didn't matter. She wanted me to make sure that I was loved by God our Father, and she wanted me to have an understanding of his unconditional love. My mother's value of faith was so strong and important to her. I was only 4 years old when I had the realization that values would soon play a significant part and role in my life. At this age, my mother believed that I was old enough to become aware of my disability. After all, I thought I was a normal child and that the way that I functioned on a daily basis was the way everyone else did. I vividly remember her sitting me down on my bed like it was yesterday. I could sense that something was wrong. She began saying, "Stephanie, Mommy needs to tell you something. The doctors at the hospital where you were born think I had a virus while I was carrying you in my tummy. They thought Mommy was sick. When I brought you into this world, you were born blind. You can't see, but I just want you to know that you will always be like everyone else, and I don't want you to feel any different. And I was led, and I will lead the blind in a way they do not know, and paths they have not known. I will guide them. I will turn their darkness before them into light, turn rough paths into level ground. These are the things I will do, and I do not forsake them." Isaiah chapter 42, verse 16. I immediately began to feel resentment towards her, and I started to cry, feeling like an outsider in such a big world when I was so little. When I received this news, I was not only devastated, but many questions began running through my young, ever-growing mind. Why did this have to happen to me? Should I just give up? I did not feel like I had any purpose in this world. However, she began telling me that I was so motivated, strong, brave, and smart. These words were spoken to me by a woman of true courage, grace, fortitude, and faith. She was simply astounding as a role model, and I hope I can raise my children half as wonderfully as she did, especially raising one with a disability. She is the strongest woman I know, and that is where I gained my strength and motivation. As a baby, I didn't crawl much and began to walk at age 13 months. I remember my mother taking my small hands and saying, "Mommy believes that God gave you to me because you are here to teach Mommy how to see in a new way. God placed you in my arms for a wonderful purpose. You are Mommy's beautiful baby girl, and I never want you to forget that. Cast all your cares on him, for he cares for you." Peter chapter 5, verse 7. As I grew older, I concluded that I would view my blindness as an inconvenience that I would just have to work around, not a handicap. This, quote, inconvenience, end quotes, would be something that I would just work around and I would not let get to me in the way of doing what I wanted to do. I grew up like any other normal baby with very few modifications. My childhood was similar to everyone else, consisting of t-ball, piano lessons, tap and ballet lessons, and marching in and maintaining an active role as the percussion section leader of my high school band, and also marching in the band at Baylor University. Since my childhood, my Catholic faith and love for our Lord has always been the most important value in my life. On February 24th, 1993, an Ash Wednesday, just 1.5 months after my 6th birthday, heaven gained a man of honor, a respected Marine, and a daughter's first love. This man was my father. I vividly remember him getting pulled out of school and my mother telling me that he had passed away. My father suffered an aneurysm in his stomach, and at that time, he was in Missouri on business, so I never got to tell him goodbye or that I loved him one last time. My mother raised my sister and me on her own, and I began to develop a deep, strong relationship with God our Father. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to sow, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 through 4. This was like a life-defining moment for me, and I realized that I had to be brave and take care of that you have to be brave and take care of yourself under any given circumstance. This, along with my upbringing, taught me the values of independence and self-reliance, because you never know what God will place in your path on your walk of faith. As a child, I always loved kneeling beside my bed to pray. My 2 favorite prayers were the Our Father and the Angel of God. I loved attending Mass and CCE class in West. St. Mary's Catholic Church of the Assumption welcomed me with open arms, and they were a shining example of a true faith community. After attending MCC for 2 years and graduating with a 4.0, I enrolled at Texas A&M University in the fall of 2007. Little did I know I would be reliant on my faith even more. I had to rely on my family to get me through one of the darkest and most trying times of my life. While enrolled there, I got lost every day. My mom would walk to class with me over the phone, and I knew where everything was, but many construction obstacles were placed in my path, and bikes were placed there too, which is why I became so lost. I also had a roommate who enjoyed cussing me out every chance that she got, and my assistive technology did not work because of the humidity in my dorm room. I was also failing my classes, which is not normal for me. I graduated in the top 25% of my high school class with honors and high honors at MCC. I also earned 2 degrees from Baylor and passed with flying colors. Terry, one of my high school friends, also attended A&M. We went to Mass together any time that we could. Little did I know she would literally save my life. One Sunday morning, I was all alone in my dorm room and had all I could take. I wanted to end my life right then and there. So I grabbed all of the medicine I had, and I was going to mix it all together and just end everything. Before I could continue with my plan, Terry called to ask if I had plans that Sunday. I didn't, so I got in the car and went to West with her and decided to surprise my mom. I was so glad to go, and Mom was so glad to see me, and that was the best feeling ever. On Halloween of 2007, I moved home to West. I planned this decision very carefully for a while and prayed about it, and I knew it was the right one. After all this heartache, I was led to a realization. My visual impairment served a completely different purpose. It was my duty to see through God's eyes and let Him lead me through my path according to His will. For we walk by faith, not by sight. Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7. After receiving my master's in 2012 from Baylor, another battle took over and tested my faith. I was working early mornings at a radio station in Waco. After graduating with my master's in journalism, the structure in my life was gone. I began my battle with depression and anxiety. I did not care how I looked when I went to work, and I just wanted to stay in bed all day long. My mother prayed for me, but the prayers were not working. I knew it was more than just a test of my faith. I made an appointment with my primary care physician, and there he gave me medicine to deal with the mood in a better way. I began doing a lot of research on patron saints of depression and anxiety, so I could pray to one when I was anxious and needed to. Saint Dymphna was it. I pray to her all the time when I am having an episode, and especially when I am alone or scared. Fast forward to 2015. I was working 2 jobs. One was at a radio station in Waco, and another was at a marketing company where I could work from home remotely. I was unable to operate the equipment at the radio station because it was so old. Therefore, I was placed on an unpaid hiatus until the station could figure out what they wanted to do with me. Then the marketing company let me go because it outsourced to another company and to other companies. Essentially, I had lost 2 jobs in 2 months. My depression overtook me, and I had to go to DePaul to get some perspective and make my depression better again. After my stay there, I began working at KWBU-FM, Waco's NPR station. I stayed there for a year and a half because my boss was a bully toward me, testing my depression again. During all of this, my faith never failed. It remained strong, even though it was tested at times. I began to repeat the verse from Luke 22:42 that says, "Father, not my will, but yours be done." Now I am a patient of one of the best psychiatrists in the state of Texas, and my depression and anxiety are finally under control after a difficult battle for 7 years. I also have an emotional support dog named Molly, and life is looking up. I just got accepted to the University of North Texas to go to major in student affairs and get my second master's. And I will be leaving in July, and I am so excited, and I thank God every day for this opportunity. Thank you.
Any questions?
What high school did you end up graduating from?
I went to West.
Okay, the question was, what high school? Yeah, was where did you graduate? And it was
should have
West.
put that in
Now,
the talk,
some
but-
of you are people around the world are going to be able to see this. We're in Waco, Texas right now, and West is about 15 miles north of us. It's predominantly there's a big Czech influence in West, and well, it was the city where that fertilizer plant exploded, but a city with a lot of character. I think we can say that about
and
West
a lot of
Texas.
Catholics.
Oh, we had a lot of Catholics. Okay. Yeah. Say in high school, what kind of accommodations or how did your typical day go?
Oh, they
in
had-
a school day.
High school had everything for me. They had books and Braille. I had a shelf in each classroom that had all my books on it because the Braille books are in volumes. So like for instance, my geometry book my sophomore year was 60 volumes to one print book.
What's your next master's degree going to be?
Higher ed and student affairs. Yeah, I want to work with college kids.
So the next master is higher ed and student affairs, and I think that's a really good fit for you. And I went to college when I was 17 years old, and I didn't leave until 2012. I liked it. Will your support dog be going with you?
Yes, of course. Of course. Molly goes everywhere I go.
What kind of dog is Molly?
She is half Maltese and half poodle. So she's little and she's my snuggle partner at night. I love her. We're inseparable.
So have you been up to the North Texas campus?
I've been there a long time ago, but it's probably changed. I'm going up on the 28th to see my apartment and everything. I get a free apartment for my assistantship for the grad position, and I get a free tuition because of my disability. So I couldn't pass the opportunity up.
Yes.
Where was your service dog training?
She didn't really have to be.
The question was, when was the service dog trained? Where?
Oh, where?
Where? Okay.
She doesn't really have to be, as long as they're emotional support animals. I think they can just, wear the harness that says emotional support dog and comfort animal or however they put it. And she should be fine. She's 10 years old, so she's not active like she used to be.
Yes. What's the name? Oh, the name of the college that she's going to. It's the University of North Texas, which is in Denton, Texas.
Yep.
It's a pretty big university.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
a big, good 30,000 students
Yeah,
there.
they have 42,000 now.
Amarita. The question was, are you going to be involved in giving this very impressive, moving, unforgettable talk in other settings? And
Well, I hope so, if somebody will have me.
well, I encourage any of you in this room, you might have the occasion to invite Stephanie
Yeah,
to.
anytime.
Bonnie?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Stephanie, as someone who's dealt with depression and anxiety, do you find that in your encounters that people with disability, maybe specifically the blindness issue, struggle a lot with depression and anxiety? Have you had opportunity to address
Yes,
that?
I found that out. It's very prevalent. Not a lot of people will tell you that, but you can kind of read between the lines and tell.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
How does your contraption work?
Well, it is a contraption, that's for sure. And it's called a Braille note. Braille Note Touch to be specific. And basically, I have a flash drive in here, and I typed my talk on the computer, and I can put it in the Braille Note USB port and read it off the screen.
That's cool.
So is that rolling through
Mhm.
there?
These keys right here,
Uh-huh.
they're
Yeah.
thumb keys.
So you can pause it and,
I can stop anytime I want to.
okay.
Did you have a special trainer to come to your house to help you with your machines?
Yes, we did. When I was little, we had, what did we have, Mom? We had occupational therapy.
Occupational therapy, physical therapy, visual teacher.
That showed me Braille. We had orientation and mobility that showed me how to use my cane. So,
We even had a speech therapist available, but she didn't need speech. So the speech therapist went ahead and worked with on things like how it was going under things, how going over things, how going through things, so.
concepts. Yeah, I was way ahead in my speech. So,
The reason why I asked Stephanie is because I have a deaf-mute daughter.
oh wow.
Yeah, and in her life, I also have a lot of problems dealing with even the school to provide services, and so I was
I'm
just
so
interested
sorry.
in
Oh.
how you deal with it. Ma'am?
So,
What did she say?
well, just
She
like
has a
K
deaf
through
daughter.
12, did you find that the support was very willing and?
Oh.
Yeah, West ISD was awesome.
When we were living in Rockwall, and so she was under Region 10, and I was speaking to Region 12 here, and the ladies, we were thinking about moving back home, and the lady that was at Region 12 said that that was the school that she needed to go to, that they would be very good, with help and stuff. And there was, we asked for, they took care of it. So, they say you have to fight for your child. I didn't fight a whole lot for education. It was pretty much everything she needed was there. So we were blessed.
Yes, we were.
I can see that.
Okay, any more questions? Well, a hand for Pat and Stephanie.
Thank you for having
for
me,
this-
John.
Oh, you're so welcome. I've been looking forward to this. And, okay, so let's see.